Welcome to the year-end special episode of Unstable Vitals.
It's exciting.
Well, wait, I'm not done introducing myself.
Oh, I did the typical male thing and
Totally did.
interrupted.
I'm Dr. Lara Zibners, and I am here with my good friend Adam. I mean, Dr. Brown. I
You
think
did the
you did that
female
to
male
me.
thing.
You did that to me in the first
I
episode, I
sure did.
believe.
See, we're going all the way back.
And I can't believe we are almost full circle to where this idea was birthed out of our minds.
Yes, you were going to say something
So
else. I think you were
I
going to say
was.
vagina and then realize I don't have one of those. So,
Well, and I don't give birth to things
okay. Because,
because, well, one, I don't have a uterus.
well, you said before that you were bagless upright. I think
I
this
am
is,
a backless upright, but I also am like, there's like one thing I've ever tried to do in my life that I spectacularly failed at, and that was trying to get pregnant.
well, that was not what I was talking about.
Oh,
But I was more so talking about the bagless upright thing, thing that we have talked and joked about before.
because it is, it's like a blind, it's a cul-de-sac.
Well, see, for me, it's just not a thing. So, sorry.
Okay, anyway,
But
welcome to the year-end 2025 in review.
yeah, I mean, I'm so excited. I can't believe it's been 13, I think, episodes that we have had over the past year. And we have taken these episodes from multiple places around the globe, which has been cool. Laura, what has been one of the most fun episodes that you think that we've
It
done?
was the one, it was Code Brown. It was
Code
when
Brown, yeah.
it was when I surprised you with the photo of my ass in the bathing suit in the air on the beach, and the look on your face when that flashed on the screen, that was worth any degree of public humiliation.
Yeah, I think that was really fun. And I think my sense is next year we should probably do something similar. We should do some blind reactions. Um,
Totally.
so
Totally.
maybe we should do some blind reactions to kind of things that people say on the internet about that are like wellnessy, essential oily
Do you know,
things.
we could do that, but you know what I really like to do is I like to go around the world, and when you find something where somebody tried to do it in English, but they misspelled it or they got one word wrong.
Yeah, I think those
Those
are
are my
fun.
favorite tourist moments. But yeah, okay.
Yes.
We could try to do the most outlandish wellness claim of the week.
I think that's a great thing. But 13 episodes. I mean, like when I think back about the beginning of the year, I'm not someone who loves to do like, I was about to say revolutions, but like, what do you call it? But New
I'm
Year's
ready to start a
resolutions.
revolution.
Yeah, I already started that. New Year's resolutions. I'm not that, but like,
No,
I do like to have certain goals for the year. Like, what are some of the goals? What were some of your big goals this year?
world domination.
Okay. Are
I
you
need
there yet?
very, very close on the
Okay.
cusp. Um, Fundraising for a women's health startup is the most painful, difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And I woke up once during ovarian egg retrieval. So that's saying something.
Okay. All right. Not
Um,
been there, but can appreciate.
and I'm still married, and my children still talk to me, and I think that was a great goal to have
I
had.
think those are huge goals. I mean, so I've got several, but like one of mine was getting this podcast started. I mean, I think, it's been a hell of a lot of fun. And
Super
I
fun.
mean, I get to spend time with you, which is something I
Yeah,
love
that's right.
doing.
Well,
And,
should we remember the story where we were sitting? We were
you mean,
sitting with my sister in San Francisco having brunch, and I said, Adam, we are so fucking funny.
we are so damn funny.
We
Like,
should do a podcast. And then you were like, great. And then your team was like, that's a lot of work.
Exactly. This is kind of a shoot first, aim second, sort of thing. So, but hey, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I can't wait for next year. So that was
Me too.
goal one. Just like you, so I wasn't in the fundraising space. I was trying to grow ABIG, and here we are at the end of this year, and we've grown over 2 times the size. So like that is really really exciting. I another goal that I had was, and this will resonate with you, is like I really wanted to go to an international conference where ABIG had a booth there, and we got to do the conference thing. I mean, I felt like it felt very real. Like I've got a real company. I've got a booth there. I've got, I'm meeting people and selling our product and selling what we're doing. And so that was a goal met. You and I
Yeah,
were there. We had our booths right beside each other at Health. So
we
that
did.
was fun. On the more doctor personal side, I wanted to recertify for my emergency medicine boards, and I did it early. And I'm good till 2033.
Oh,
Woohoo.
see, pediatrics is a different system, so I'm doing those MOC quarterly questions.
Yeah, so
And
we've got this
I'm on the fence.
we've got this hybrid thing now in emergency medicine that instead of 10 years, it's a 5 years recertification, but you have to do a certain number of interim tests. And so, some people will do one a year, or you can do all of them in a couple of weekends. And that's kind of what I did on this one. And then I wanted to get my American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but I take that board in a couple of weeks. And so,
Uh-oh.
yeah, so we'll see. Studying has been quite a challenge, but I try to live a healthy lifestyle and
Well,
keep
you've
up
got a
with that.
lot of goals. I'm trying to finish season 2 of The Diplomat
Best show.
because can I tell you why?
Yeah, tell me.
Because my husband and I watched season 1 and we really enjoyed it. And I'd actually seen like episodes 1, 2, 3, and then I rewatched them. This is really setting it up for how bad what's happened is. I rewatched episodes 1, 2, and 3 with him so that he was caught up, and then we could watch season 1 together. And then I turned my back for a second, and he binged season 2 on an airplane.
See, that's
So,
absolute bullshit. That's divorce court stuff I'd bring up.
right? Is that not like jackass? I mean, the
It's shitty.
nicest man on the planet. It's not something you expect from Rob.
No, I love Robbie
Like
Bobby.
he's
Like,
usually so thoughtful, so considerate. Anyway, so now I'm binging season 2, and he, to his credit, he did not go on to season 3. He is waiting for me, but I just feel like that was just kind of a lame move.
so can I just say, I love Carrie Russell. She is amazing. She is such a great actress or actor. I don't know the right word to use, but whatever. She's really great at her profession. She's a
She is.
standout.
Did you watch The Americans?
I did, and I loved it. And one of the things I remembered about the Americans that I liked so much was just so I'm a kid of the 80s, right? So like I was
Yes.
born in the 70s, but I'm a kid of the 80s, and the times that I remember, and the things that they wore in the Americans, it just like brought me
Yes.
back to things I saw my mom wear, my dad wore, things we had in our kitchen. And so there was this kind of mix between nostalgia. Reagan was president, and there was a lot of conversation about the Red Scare still continuing. And so, there was pieces of it about that show that were like tapping into the nostalgia side of things. And in addition to that, it was
Fabulous.
just intriguing and it was fabulous.
Yes.
And it was based here in DC, Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
So like, and I live in DC, so that was kind of like, a cool thing. But she's a phenomenal actress. And I
Yes.
have to say, like with The Diplomat, encourage anyone who's not watched it to
Yes.
watch it. She's just
Well,
great.
you know what's amazing is I lived in London for 13 years, and if you go running behind like where the U.S. ambassador's house is, you don't realize what's behind there. You really have no idea of how big that space is, and you see the actual embassy, or not the embassy, but the ambassador's residence, and every time I've ever been around it, it's kind of like London Zoo. You from the outside, you don't realize how big that space is inside and what's in there. But yeah, so that's why I think it's neat also because I lived in London for a long time. So
Yeah.
see, it's not just you.
No, no,
Me
no, it's
too.
definitely not just me. And
Yeah.
and that kind of brings me to my last goal. Actually, you said you've lived in London a long time. I mean, one of my goals is to move to Europe. And it looks like we're going to have a bit of a hybridized
Yay!
life where we kind of have our foot on this side of the
So
pond and then on
I'm
that side
gonna
of the pond.
give you some advice.
Sure.
If you have a favorite pair of shoes, like your favorite running shoes, just buy two of them and leave one pair in each location.
I've got you on. So I've already gotten a storage unit where I'm going to start transporting my on shoes. So my running shoes on. I
Yeah,
have a white pair or a grayish pair, and then I have a black pair and a navy pair, and I'm just going to leave one of those there. And I'm
that's
going to
right.
kind of like leave a suit there and leave like, and I mean,
Yep.
I'm starting to think through like, what is this kind of hybrid life looking like? Because, it's,
Just yeah, no, you need two of everything.
yeah, yeah.
But
So,
one husband.
oh, yes. Yes. And we both have good husbands.
We do.
They backslide sometimes.
Once in a while,
Example,
not everyone's perfect.
well, I mean, I have a pretty high standard, but like,
I hit pretty close.
yeah, this is true. But I mean, like the diplomat thing, I mean, Rob was here,
I know.
and when I
I
heard
know.
about the diplomat cheating
I know.
thing,
I
binging on
know.
an airplane when you weren't paying attention, and
I
and
know.
about a
I know.
three
I know.
quarters of a bottle of red wine in like,
I know.
that's
I
not
know.
fair. That's not
But you know what? I will say he's taken on the monumental task of managing my 12-year-old son's homework.
okay. So
And
he gets
that
bonus
he so
points.
like that's like hero material
Okay.
because Otto has severe ADHD and his goal in life is to grow up to be a gamer. So like his Spanish
Cool.
presentation isn't real high priority.
Yeah. So okay. So Rob is back up here.
He's
He's
back
back.
up there.
Okay. All right. So we'll stop picking on Rob.
Okay.
Well, now let's, so as we look back on this year, what are some of the top stories that you kind of thought?
Oh God. The NIH freeze, the CDC shut down. Do you remember back in January, we got home from JPM and I had spent all that time working, prepping for this Radix call. And then 4 hours before it was canceled. And that's when I wrote my very first op-ed.
Yeah, I remember that one, and I remember that got placed, I believe,
Med
in
City
Med
News.
City News. Yeah, congratulations, it was a really good one, where you talked about how like the life of a founder is now way more challenging, and women's health is way more challenged because of all of the funding cuts that happened at the NIH
Well,
and
and
stopped the
and
grants.
actually, I titled it something along the lines of the freeze in my childcare arrangements because this is such a big deal that I had like made special plans for my spazzy children to not be in my way. Like just because I live in Europe and everything happens in my evening and when they're home from school and I'm like, you cannot come in mom's office. And I had like made special plans and I was like, and then it all blew up 4 hours before my
Well,
meeting.
and I think that kind of I want to come back to that because I think that story is a really big one because I think there's probably 5 or 6 really big stories, and that ties into I think one of the number one big stories of the year. I think if I were to kind of being a healthcare professor, industry person, when I look at like what are the things in healthcare that are truly shifting or changing, um, and what will likely have major impacts to a great population. I think story number 5 for me. I'll go backwards. Let's go backwards.
We're gonna do like the
We're
top
gonna
10, but
countdown.
10,
We'll do
starting
like
with 10, we're gonna do a
no, we
countdown.
don't got 10. I ain't got time for that. We got 5,
I don't
maybe a
want to
bonus.
hear it.
Yeah, you don't want
Yeah,
to listen
okay,
to it.
fine. No,
So I think
I don't
number
got time.
one is the GLP-1s surge, and here's why I'm going to tell you that one. So
Okay.
GLP-1s came on board kind of towards the end of the pandemic. People, well, they've been around for decades, or
Yeah.
for a decade plus, but like people started being like, oh, we can lose weight on this. And then it really started the debate of should people who are relatively healthy but a little overweight be on it, or should we wait until they have diabetes? And I think like the medical establishment still is a bit, questioning that, but I think the public is kind of voting with their feet, as they say, and they're finding other ways to get that medication. And so that competition, and this kind of goes back to some capitalism, right? Like that competition where you have like all of these online retailers making
Right.
compounded GLP-1s, which then became illegal, but then they found loopholes. But anyway, that made it more affordable, even though not that affordable, but made it more affordable than it was like originally, where it's close to $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Now people were paying $200, $300, $400 a month, so it made it more affordable. And now, if you kind of like see what just happened with the administration, the Trump administration, they negotiated with 2 of the pharma companies to say like, okay, how can we offer this to Medicare patients at a much lower rate? And I heard just today that another pharma company said we will offer this for, I'll
It's
round it out.
199. Is that
Yeah, I think it was like
yeah, this
199, a
Good,
couple hundred
Good
bucks a
RX,
month.
right? Yeah, yeah.
So the point here is that like there is public demand, people are interested. So I think that's a big story
It's
because the potential of the future of what people do, losing weight, improved.
Agreed. And I particularly have an interest in this because there's the menopause conversation about GLP-1s, because menobelly is not a joke. And the idea that, from my understanding, I mean, nobody's been able to have enough time to do real research on it, but it's sounding like, part of the menopause belly is the insulin resistance and the shift towards more abdominal fat, which is the unhealthy fat. And so, when you've had a flat stomach, no matter how wide your ass has been, to suddenly have, rolls sticking up. And so there's some early work looking at just metabolic markers and how it affects women in menopause and that redistribution of fat, how we can reverse that. So it might be more than just vanity at play.
Yeah. Oh,
and I think
agree.
that's
I think
awesome.
that's such a great point. And then we'll go to the number 4 story. But I think that what started happening, and this happened in the media and even with some doctors, is I heard doctors say things like, well, GLP-1s are not for people, Ozempic, Wegovy, all these different tirzepatide, like these are not for people just to lose weight. And then I step back and I'm like, okay, let's wait a minute. You are telling me, doctor, that the number one reason for diabetes, hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, coronary artery disease is because of obesity. You're telling me that. Okay. Well, before I am obese, there typically is a time period of being overweight. So
You don't just wake up the next
you don't just
day
wake up
with a
and be
new
like,
BMI.
you
Like,
know,
I'm the
like
marshmallow man. No, that doesn't happen. I
no,
feel
it's
like
not.
it happens overnight, but it does not.
It's
No,
not like
this
Eddie
is
Murphy's Professor Clump. It's
no.
not.
It is one cookie after another, day by
Or
day.
after or
And then
after a hormonal change, or
one
after
day, I bent over in a hotel room and the back of my trousers
your
split
britches
wide
split.
They
Like
totally did.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's over time. So I think and then we heard people say like, oh, well, you stop taking the medication and all of a sudden you gain weight. Well, newsflash, you
You
stop
can't
taking
eat the
your.
cookies.
But no. It's more complex than that, or
I know.
less complex than that. We give patients antidepressants, antihypertensives, anti-high cholesterol medicines. Or high cholesterol medicines. We do that all the time. And guess what? When they don't take those medicines, the blood pressure comes back, their depression
That's
comes
right.
back, all these things come back.
That's right.
So that's almost like, why are we shaming people for taking a medication for a condition that causes so many other conditions?
Well, we all know the answer to that, and it's because there is fat stigma and the
Totally.
concept that you can just exercise more and eat better, and then it's your own fault.
Right. And this is where it just
And
always, I was a
but
very
it's not
good kid.
entirely wrong, right? You cannot just eat donuts and
Well, of
expect to
course
be
not.
healthy.
But we
So there
also
is an
know,
element, but yeah,
but we
but
also
it's not
know
quite that simple.
it's not simple. I used to hear, I will never forget an ER doctor that I used to work with. And he would berate us at times for using 3 or 4 paper towels. After we wash our hands, he goes, you can dry your hand with just one paper towel. And I'm like, okay, cool. But anyway, so he would walk out of a
Was
room
he the towel
sometime.
police? Like,
Oh,
what was he?
he was not so. But we'd walk
The
out of
bounty
a
man?
room and he would see, like, we'd have an obese patient or an overweight patient, and he would and the patient would ask a question like, hey, can you check to see if I have a glandular problem, and like a thyroid gland problem or something like that.
Right.
And I literally heard him say to a patient one time, ma'am, your only problem is a salivary gland problem. Now, that attitude by a lot of doctors still permeates where we don't have a problem taking care of patients that have hypertension or have a stroke or have name your condition. But yet when it comes to the issue that can predispose you to all of those things, we want to shame people. So I think if GLP-1s have helped started to shift that conversation.
And I think it also, people lose sight of the fact that sometimes you get so overweight that you aren't able to effectively lose weight in the same way because So getting the weight off quickly and then getting yourself moving more and doing things
Correct.
that you can finally do because your joints aren't screaming at you, right?
Yeah.
Then you
So
can maintain it better.
I think this ties into, we did talks with Jocelyn Wittstein on moving and the importance of moving,
And
and
where does vaginal estrogen go, Adam? Did you learn that one?
on the
Take
tip of
home
the,
point?
like, does it go across your
No,
port? Oh, okay.
no. Vaginal estrogen goes.
In the rectum. No,
Close.
it goes in the vagina,
I
folks.
think from
Very-
your worldview, that's about as good as we're going to get.
Okay,
So,
sure. Okay, so that was number 5. Number 4 big story, I think, is the workforce strain. Like, we still, and it's kind of a confluence of things. We still have this, you know, COVID lag. I don't think doctors and nurses are still following COVID,
no.
because it was like we went through this shared trauma, and then all of a sudden there was the economic crisis in healthcare, and then on top of that, tons of patients started coming back with a vengeance,
But
and so then more work.
also, but I'm going to throw something out there because I wasn't working clinically during that because of where I was physically located. I was stuck. I was marooned outside of clinical medicine and then ended up retiring as a result. But what I've seen is the the controversies that went on with the vaccine, the controversies that went on with the isolation and the social distancing, and how much of that was necessary and how much wasn't. We didn't need to be wiping down our groceries, but nobody knew that. That has now led to a state of such mistrust that I think doctors and nurses and healthcare workers were feeling kind of punched in the face, right?
By
Like,
just the
we were
pandemic itself.
trying to help you,
Yeah.
and now there's things like you should still be like doing vaccines and things, and now it's like, no, it was all made up. And you were working clinically, what you were seeing was not made up. And I know so many
No.
doctors who are still traumatized by the memories of that time. So to now hear it was all a hoax and it didn't need to be like that and we should have all been let out of our house, I don't know, it feels like we're being punched in the nose a little
I
bit.
completely agree. I think that we are seeing a confluence between, we still had a burnout problem before the pandemic. People still showed up at work because there was a pandemic. Then you take like the rise in the number of patients wanting to seek care post pandemic, but yet no real increase to workforce. There's still a massive shortage. Hospitals are not paying that much more. Doctors are not getting paid that much more. They're doing more work with less. And then, to your point, you're getting punched in the face by now the administration, by the Department of Health and Human Services secretary, and influencers on the news or on TikTok and all these different things. It's not a good time. There are some bright lights. We talked with Steph Simmons, who
Right,
came on and
right.
talked about the work that Dr. Lorna Breen's
Foundation. Yep.
foundation is doing. It's amazing work that they're doing. We talked
And
with
she got to meet,
Noah Wiley, the
I
dude that is the
know, the
reason why I became an
dude.
ER doc. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, no,
Um,
we have to
so
touch
so
on
that, I
that.
mean, I still think that that's a big story. So that's probably number 4. Number 3, I think one of the big stories that we're just starting to get more of is how Medicaid redetermination last year now has moved into cuts into Medicaid this year, which is going to put a big strain. I've written an op-ed about this, about the misinformation, the confusion around Medicaid, and then pairing it with real cuts that happened in the one big beautiful bullshit bankrupting bill that was passed by the Congress. That's going to have big implications. And it'll have implications on Medicare premiums, and private premiums. I think this affordability crisis around healthcare is, we are just in the tip of the iceberg here. And I'm hearing it from when I went home this past week to North Carolina, and I heard my dad, who's a hardcore conservative Republican, make a comment. Maybe if everybody just had Medicare as a baseline, we'd be in a lot better space. And I was like, what is happening in the world? When Marjorie Taylor Greene makes sense?
Oh, don't even get me started. I read the
What?
Horowitz report. Hilarious. Best
Yes.
one I've ever read was about when Marjorie Taylor Greene is a beacon of sense The world has turned upside down.
It's completely. I had a friend
But
ask
we
me.
are, yeah, go ahead.
Go, no, you go, please.
No, I was just going to say, I've lived in Europe for a long time. There is no other developed nation that doesn't have some sort of
Baseline.
basic healthcare.
Yeah,
And in the US, that has fallen to emergency medicine. And that is why that specialty, well, you and I
is
have a special
struggling.
fondness for it, but that's one of the reasons. Because it's the only
Exactly.
place nobody says no.
So, we talked with, on our program, we talked with Dr. Farmer about this.
Oh, your hubby?
My hubby, yeah. We talked with Steve about it. We talked with Mac DeFord about the healthcare crisis, the
In the
affordability
most
crisis.
depressing episode of the season.
And it was a little depressing.
It
I,
was a
I told him, I was
downer.
like, dude, but we are not
I
in a
hope he
good
held
spot.
I hope he had a town hall and he brought Hawaiian Lays.
Yeah, he's got a good
Punch.
message though. I'm very excited about his candidacy. He's got great ideas. He's a trooper, veteran. So like he's a good egg and a Carolina grad and
And
a graduate from my class.
oh, well,
Ooh, just like you.
we had a lot of Tar Heels on this season.
We did
We
because
had Allison.
well, okay. So that is kind of ties in to the next converse. The next one is we're seeing a ton of AI investment. And you're like, how does that tie into Allison? Well, because all these companies are trying to negotiate how they're going to position themselves, how are they going to get more money because there's like this big AI boom. And like, how does one position themselves with to get
You know,
more money?
it's hard when you're a women's vaginal drug delivery company because like AI is everywhere. And I've tried to repeatedly explain that I'm not capable of using AI to put drugs into a vagina. That's not a thing yet. But,
Hmm.
and then one application for a grant said, do not mention AI. We are not looking for AI companies. But then we got our rejection letter and it said, you failed to mention AI.
Okay.
So
So
I feel like in this world of AI, I just can't win.
it's really a challenge. And listen, Allison did not talk about, she was one of our professors, like she did not talk about AI. She did not talk as much about negotiations. But where you and I came connected with her
Yes.
was through her class on negotiations at UNC, which was phenomenal. But the big thing was her writing this book, Likeable
Likeable
Badass,
badass.
which is amazing, where she talks about real drivers of how to be authentic, how to position yourself well, how to be a badass, but also you don't have to be a dick about it. You can be likable.
You need to keep working on that. I think I'm there.
I
But
know.
I think the thing I took away from that was men are more likely to negotiate before they take the job. Women are think they'll take the job and then negotiate, but then you have like inertia because like it's going to be a lot of work then for anyone to do anything. So women negotiate before you say yes.
Oh, 100%. I actually had a conversation with a student of mine last night about this very thing. And I had told her your strongest point in a negotiation is before you accept the job.
Yes.
Because you can walk away. Once you're in the job, you're locked in. And so your best attempt or your best time is prior to getting that job because once you're in, now you're on the 2 to 3% kind of COLA raise on the year versus your greatest point of getting that kind of baseline salary is when you could walk away and they know they need you kind of in the door. And
It's
so I think that there's so many great principles that Allison talks about
and
um,
she's
and
funny.
and she's funny.
And we
And
all have
while
matching red glasses.
yeah, we all did on that one. So okay, so just to recap, the top four going in op and
I've already
is
forgotten.
GLP's one,
Okay, GLP-1,
workforce under strain,
workforce.
erosion of Medicare and Medicaid coverage,
Okay.
then this big AI surge. I want to say one other thing about
Yeah.
this AI surge is we may be heading towards a bubble. Even the Google CEO said we may be heading towards a bubble and it's going to affect everyone. And so we got to watch that. And then what are the implications to healthcare? And then the last one, I think the biggest healthcare news that affected the United States and globally is the election of Donald Trump, and not in a good way. And I'll tell you why. All the way from the appointment of RFK Jr. to raising the NIH, the FDA, CMS, that's Medicare, Medicaid, his appointment has just done absolute destruction and harm to the institutions that really kept us innovative, or innovative, if I'm saying it like a Brit.
Innovative.
Innovative.
That's right.
It kept us innovative, kept us in the forefront of thought for innovation in the United States.
And outside for the rest of the world. The rest of
the
the world looked at the United States as a place you wanted to go. The U.S. has become the country it was because of brain drain. And
Exactly.
it just flushed the toilet and everybody went running the other direction.
And that's happening. That is happening. You see Canada trying to poach people, the UK. And the other interesting thing is that you're starting to see Europe create alliances with Asia, Canada, South America, and kind of avoiding the United States. And once you cede that ground, it's really hard to recapture it. So I think that is just one part of the Trump election.
I think so. I thought you were going to say RFK Jr., but I think you're right. It's above that because it's a policy overall. The whole intention was to disrupt, but not in a way that was good. And in medicine and healthcare, you cannot just run around like a bull in a china shop smashing
or with
things. And you're supposed to have you're supposed to have somebody who has some medical knowledge running the healthcare systems.
Yeah,
Isn't that like a basic tenet?
You would think if you were going to be the head of American healthcare, you would have something more than being an environmental lawyer who
is a conspiracy theorist and has an amoeba in his brain
or worm, and a demonstrable distaste for science. You know, I think, but okay, but that's one piece of the Trump puzzle. The other global piece to the Trump puzzle is the tariffs. And everything from which the Supreme Court may eventually strike down, who knows? But what that's done is that's not only created a price inflation here in the United States, that has created a lot of concern about drug manufacturers, which we get a lot of our drugs from Europe, from Ireland, which is Europe, from the UK. That creates pricing challenges, that creates supply chain challenges. So there is a lot of pieces to that puzzle that I think that he has brought in that has created some destruction. So everything from, the institutions themselves to the tax or tariff policy has had a downstream effect. But there's a third, and I think this is almost like a bonus big story, but it's not a positive one,
okay.
But it all tracks back to Trump. And that is the role of pushing out misinformation. And that one of the institutions that have been corrupted has been the trust institution, that we could trust a lot that came out from our public health agencies and the voices of public health. That is not the case anymore.
And it's really hard because we don't want people picking and choosing. But one great thing just happened, which is, and it kind of aligns with who Trump is and the people he hangs out with, but vaginal estrogen finally lost its black box warning. So yay, vaginas. But I can't pick and choose and say, well, one good thing, like it's hard for people who aren't doctors themselves to be able to look at this and be like, well, wait a minute, if they're spouting nonsense, then maybe vaginal estrogen isn't safe either.
Well, so that was my initial thought was when I saw that announcement was like, oh my God, is he going to say like Tylenol is bad for pregnancy again? Is like, because you have to realize that just 3 weeks before the HRT announcement, there was, or vaginal estrogen announcement, there was the big White House Oval Office discussion about Tylenol and autism, which has been debunked.
Well, and it's just not true. It's not
It's
true.
just not true.
It does not exist. And and then you see that so-and-so suing somebody. Like, it is crazy town. I am so worried about our society unless we get a handle on true and not true. Like, opinion is not fact, but facts are facts.
Facts
And
are facts.
and alternative facts are not, like, that's not a thing. And then, like, my kids are getting really good at being like, Mom, that's AI generated. And I'm like, it is?
Yeah,
But my hope is that the next generation starts to figure it out because we sure as hell haven't.
we sure as hell haven't. But when you talk about what's happened with the administration around this kind of space, from Tylenol and autism to splitting apart the MMR vaccine to challenging the vaccine schedule to getting rid of the entire vaccine committee at the
Oh,
CDC and replacing it with sycophants, like this all tracks back to Trump's
it's Trump.
decision with RFK
Yep.
Jr. and putting a denialist of science into the position. And so I think on the good news is a large portion of the population see through that. I think some of the polls are showing 60 to 70% don't trust. But just think about that. That means that 30 some percent of the people do trust him.
Yeah, but even worse, it's it's not that they don't trust him, it's that they've lost trust
And the
in the
institution.
government and the institution. So now you've got the American Academy of Pediatrics and other healthcare organizations just bypassing entirely the government run bodies to say, no, 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 if we're going to keep people safe, here's the vaccine schedule. And this is put together by experts. Like these things are not, it's not like someone just takes a crayon every year and rewrites the vaccine schedule, right? This is
Right.
like, this is years and years of evidence, like the greatest medical miracle ever.
Exactly.
And my kids have been jabbed, and my daughters were close in age, so sometimes the pediatrician would accidentally give one the wrong shots, and so they've all had like everything 3 times, and they look okay to me. Nobody's sprouted a third eye, right?
No.
I feel pretty good about having vaccinated my kids. My big concern though is you have a lot more faith than maybe I do because we've seen children die this year. We saw children die of measles, and we've now lost our no measles status, and the no measles status is now lost also for Canada, our neighbor. That means that now North America no longer can say it has eradicated measles. We just can't.
Right.
And that is not, it's not like you just get a rash. It's not,
No.
it's like, no,
People lose their hearing, they have encephalitis, they
you
die,
can
they get pneumonia.
die.
Yeah, yeah. It can be lifelong debilitating. And that's just measles, the MMR vaccine. Like there's polio, there's other things, there's smallpox. There's there's other things. There's a reason why we don't have smallpox rolling around right now. It's because there's this very strong vaccine campaign that happens.
I mean,
in the 50,
if
60,
things
70.
keep going this direction, I might become a milkmaid and just start milking cows for some level of protection.
Of protection, exactly. For those
Just
that don't know,
baseline cowpox protection.
yeah, for those that don't know, cowpox virus, it was noted that milkmaids did not get smallpox, and they recognized it was because they got cowpox. And
So
Jenner,
Edward
yep,
Jenner, he went and he scraped a
a pox
cowpox
mark.
lesion and he inoculated a young boy who lived on the farm.
Yeah, I mean, like just as a side, like I
That's
mean,
a
think about
side
that.
issue, an ethic. There was an ethical violation,
Probably,
and I will tell you, there was vaccine misinformation at that time. There were ads after Jenner's vaccine came out of warning parents that if your child gets this vaccine, it had pictures of kids turning into cows,
yeah.
like
Okay,
children with like cow tails and stuff.
so but you see, this is such for those of us who have been in healthcare and were taught healthcare history. We see the same thing being happening over and over again when it comes to misinformation, whether it's the wellness crap. I shouldn't say crap. There's some really great wellness things out there, but there's also a lot of crap. A lot of
Well,
shit.
wellness is the pursuit of health. So
And that
taking
is
the
good.
stairs and eating broccoli are good wellness activities. Aligning your chakras on a $2,000 crystal LED mat, if that makes you feel good and you actually routinely set fire to piles of money, knock yourself out.
That's fine. So, okay. So 5 things: GLP-1s, work under stress, erosion of Medicaid, Medicare, AI investment, and a potential, and then the 5th, or the number 1 biggest, the election of Trump, because it had all these knock-on effects to healthcare, and all the way from challenging our institutions down to misinformation. So, okay, rapid fire as we get ready to wrap up our last one. Laura, what was your top conference? You went to 943,000 conferences this year. And
That's
you
a
spoke
very
at
close
them.
number, 944,000.
Oh, okay. I was a couple off. But what was your favorite?
Duh. I got it. I am representing Calla Lilly in the Milken Institute Women's Health Network. Like, there I was with people from the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association and Dr. Jill Biden. I thought I knew she was hosting this luncheon, so I went to DC for 24 hours because I got into this network and I was like, oh, I cannot miss that. This is like the biggest thing to happen to me in Calla Lily ever.
Ever.
And I go and I'm thinking, oh, when she shows up, and it turns out she's sitting at the table right next to me. And then I realized all the Secret Service agents, and she was committed to it. She was not just there for her talk and her panel. She was there the whole day, in and out. And you knew when she was gone because like those 5 dudes with the pin and the curly Q coming out of the back of their heads, they were missing. But then when they reappeared, you're like, oh, she's back. And she was really there. And I got to say that I went to lunch with Jill Biden.
Which is
And
cool. I thought you were going to say I got to come by your house and hang out with Oscar before I went to that conference. But
oh, no, the day started with the Uber driver. I had a 7-star Uber driver who met me at the
love.
airport. That's right. You really have to love someone to pick them up at the airport, and especially Dulles.
Dulles.
And there I get off the plane, and you're standing there with a big welcome sign, and there was Diet Coke. I gave you 7 stars and a 12.5% tip.
Off of 0 is great. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. My favorite conference was Health Europe. I loved it because
Me too.
you and I got to hang out together.
And we launched.
And we launched. Yes. I mean, it was like all cool. We launched Unstable Vitals, which was awesomeness. And then I got to see so many of my team from that I've been working with from across the globe that we actually had not met in person. So like, that was really cool. And then I got to announce Steve was joining ABIG, which was also exciting. So there was a proud moment, proud husband moment. Like it was just like all the feels. It was fun. I loved it. Okay. So I got two more
Okay.
questions and then we'll wrap up. What are you most excited about? What are you most worried about first for 2026?
I will have 2 16-year-old girls, and I want there to be access to reproductive health for women around the world. And I am deeply worried. I know this is way more serious. You were expecting me to say something like, I don't shit my pants on a Tuesday.
Okay.
But if I'm going to be serious, I am really, really worried that women's rights and women's health, and in particular women's choice, is right now not in a great position. And I'm really concerned. Like my sister is talking about, our girls are looking at universities, and my sister's like, I can't have her go to school in a state where she can't access birth control. And I said, well, you know what? I bet we could find 10 other parents. We could charter a plane and we'll call it Abortion Air, and we'll just fly them in and out as needed. But I don't want to be in that situation. And so I really hope that somebody starts to recognize that reproductive freedom is how we keep women safe and we protect babies.
Agree. I will say I am worried about more erosion to our healthcare system through here in the United States, because I think that we are just starting to see some of the problems that are happening at the agencies. And that's everything from innovators trying to get their products to the FDA, but there's not as many people there to review them, or people to try to get coverage for things through the CMS, but there's not as big of a coverage team that's there to review it. The stalemate in Congress, around the government shutdowns, like all those things kind of are collective. I'm hoping that people will kind of see that this is not a great path for the United States. But I also know that it's that I feel that some things are accelerating and not necessarily kind of reverting back in a positive direction. That's good for healthcare. That's good for innovators. So I think 2026 is going to be a tough year from that standpoint. So okay,
we agree though. We would like to not shit our pants. So no sugar-free gummy bears.
Absolutely, but we also know that we're getting older, and so we should give ourselves a little bit of like.
Accidents happen. Accidents happen. You got to be prepared. Always travel with spare undies.
Spare undies and do your Kegels. All right. So what's the thing you're most excited about for 2026?
Calla Lily is about to start its first in-woman trial.
Okay,
And
that's
that
huge.
is huge because I thought when I started this, I was so ignorant. I was like, oh, we'll just whack some progesterone on a tampon and then someone will buy us. And it doesn't actually work that
It
way.
does not
When
work that way.
you're innovating in healthcare and you are trying to do it the right way, you actually have to follow laws. So
Oh,
we have followed all the laws,
good.
and I had to read like 800 pages of like patient information and research plans because the people who were going to read it were going to take 4 weeks. We didn't have that time. I did it in 4 days. We are about to have a huge moment for Cal Lily.
That is so exciting. I'm just, I think that's awesome. And because also the knock on effects of that, because I think what you've
Yes.
got there is great and great for women's health. And I think like that's one of the reasons why I love, being connected to you and being connected to the company in some way is that
The closest you're ever going to get to a woman.
not wrong. But I probably said vagina more this year than I've ever said it ever in my
Good. It's
life.
good to
And
grow. You have a growth mindset.
yeah, of course. Okay, so my most excited thing
Okay.
is I want to do two. Okay, I'm just gonna take the liberty.
Of course you
Of
are. Go
course I
for it.
am.
Of
Yeah. The
course.
one was with you and me. So I'm
Okay.
very excited about next year's planned season for Unstable Vitals. I mean, we've already got some pretty amazing people that are
Yep.
teamed up that want to be on
Yep.
to talk about the problems of healthcare, talking about it in a funny way, in a real way, an authentic way. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
So
Me
more to
too.
come. But the last thing that I'm super excited about is just like you were excited about your company. As I mentioned, we're looking at kind of this hybridized move and starting a little ABIG activity within Europe. And we have some great European clients and people we're working with. And I'm really, I'm going to use an old term, stoked to kind of
I'm
see,
super stoked to get you over here so we can have
have
dinner
fun
together,
over there
dinners
more.
with our hot husbands more often.
Absolutely. We do a cooking show, all kinds of things.
We could.
So,
We could.
listen,
Okay.
I just, since we're in the season of the holidays, I'm going to say I'm so grateful for you. And
Oh,
I just
grateful
appreciate
for
you, my
you.
good friend. And this has been such a fun thing. And grateful for those people who are listening and giving us comments and giving us feedback on what we should talk about. And so I just, this little community that we're building and people that we're with on this and the fun, as I like to say it, it's a fun roller coaster ride where the zit-faced teenager forgot to push the lap bar down.
That's
It's
right.
kind of like,
Remember when we started this, we said healthcare is unstable, and so are we. And I don't think healthcare is any less stable. I'm not sure you and me together have actually improved the situation, but we're going to keep up the fight
we're going to keep it up. So,
and we're going to stay unstable.
I think so because that makes it fun, and unpredictable. So,
That's
so
right.
Laura, I think it's time to sign off. But hey, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
You
And
too. Happy
and
turkey, happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, happy
all the things, New
whatever.
Year's, all the things, whatever you want to do that makes you happy. But with you and your family and friends and all the stuff. But hey, thank you for you, and
Thank
to
you for
everybody that's
you.
listening, thank you. Until next time, early in
See
next
you in
year, in
2026.
2026. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Unstable Vitals. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us for more unfiltered conversations on the pulse of healthcare. Connect with us on LinkedIn or visit unstablevitals.com to stay in the loop. And don't forget, real change starts with real talk. See you next time.